Okay, now let's do it.
And we're back.
Finally.
Oh my God. So it was my fault. Apparently, those stupid wireless earpod things are somewhere in my house, and my computer was connected to them, and I didn't realize it. So I apologize. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. You know, we keep it real loosey-goosey gully up in this piece. So now that I've stopped freaking out on the inside, hopefully everyone can hear me, because I was like, you gotta be kidding.
What a relief.
Woo! Y'all have tried my nerves today. You have. So if you are tuned back in, thank you for your patience. I am Risikat Okedeyi. Okay, see, it's embarrassing now with all of these other things. I don't even understand why this is coming up. I don't understand what's happening. Hold on. I don't know why my computer is rebelling against me today. That is not what's supposed to be showing up. There we go. All right. So if you're just tuning in, if you're coming back because of all the delays and stuff, thank you for your patience. I'm Risikat Okedeyi, and this is Cat's Corner. This is 101 Live. And my special guest today is Jide Ipaye, who is the founder of Keexs brand, which is a sneaker company that is based in Lagos, Nigeria. So in the previous edition of this, we were talking through his origin story. So I'm going to ask you, for the sake of just continuity, if you don't mind, we talked through why you decided to start a sneaker company. And part of it was that all the ugly shoes were in big sizes. And so you wanted to have shoes that were fly and that fit. You also talked about learning in the Netherlands. And then we talked a little bit about, in order to make this work, you had to scale up and you had to, you had to sell more shoes. So so it looks like we're good. Family, are you watching? You there? Let me know. I told them that I was interviewing you. Everybody's like, "Oh, let me come and see." So, talk us through a little bit. Okay, let's go back and talk about, the Nigerian response to the shoes.
Okay, so it was 2015. I just completed my course in Netherlands. I had decided to make shoes for other people, and I had done a bit of research, and I realized we didn't have any sneaker company in Nigeria or in Africa that had that storytelling aspect to it, right? And I figured that art would be a very good form of telling those stories. So I started the design with a gentleman called Lemi Garioku. Lemi is the gentleman who did a lot of Fela's album covers. I'd say about 80% of those album covers.
Amazing artist.
And yeah, absolutely amazing. Amazing, humble, very inspiring gentleman. I keep using the word gentleman because he's an amazing guy. And so he gave me the opportunity to take his art and put it on our shoes to tell a story about Fela Kuti, as well as what he stood for in terms of the ability to speak out. And one of the flagships of the designs is called the African, which basically talks about the ability to express yourself freely and speak freely as an African.
It's interesting because my introduction to your shoes was probably, this is 2020, was 2019. And I, Amalola Adeleoso, is a good friend and partner. And so we planned we were working on a trip to Lagos. Right. And she had gone and we had met back up at Eton to do some work on the project. And she had on your slip-ons, the We Are Going to Mars slip-ons.
Right.
And I was like, oh, so what are those? Oh, there's this sneaker company I think we should work with called Keexs in Nigeria. And I was like, so, we're the same size. She was like, right. But, she's like, he gave me 2 pairs of shoes. I was like, well, you need to get up off of those shoes. And she was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, as your elder sister.
As a bully.
I need you to take those shoes off and give them to me. So she gave them to me. I didn't think it was going to work, but she gave them to me.
Right.
And in fact, when we walked to the car, I was like, Madame, please off your shoes now. Have them. And so I actually sent her home in her slippers because I was like, because I thought it was dope. I had not seen the African line, so I didn't even know that there was a line. So even for me, the confusion has always been, I thought the We Are Going to Mars line was your first line. I didn't realize that the Fela line was your first line. So when I saw those shoes, I was like, the fact that a Nigerian brother has this whole Afro knot thing happening. Oh, I got to find out who this cat is. And then I met you later right before we went, like I think in September of last year, you came, you did a pop-up, and I got a chance to meet you. The art is important. And I think that, you know, particularly for someone like me, like who's not a sneaker wearer, if I'm going to wear sneakers, they have to have some sort of artistic component to it. But I'm wondering, how do you get folks, you know, particularly in Nigeria, where the style is really those hard-soled shoes and everything, the loafers and everything being really clean in that way? How do you get them to transition over to the sneaker piece? Because that's the part I'm fascinated by, to be honest with you.
Okay, so I think we've been extremely fortunate to have the first exposure we got was the video, the one that went viral from
Right.
my studies in Netherlands, and then the CNN African Voices, then the fashion shows in Nigeria, the fashion shows in South Africa, the fashion shows in New York, the fashion shows in Japan, the exposure on media, being featured across several platforms, from Great Big Story to CNN to Forbes to Visa to a lot of media, just basically picking up the story of this brand. And I think the storytelling has endeared a lot of people. The Fela is an icon.
Mhm.
And so when you think about it, that we've done 3 collections, we started off the Fela Kuti collection, we've done the Ibile collection, we've done the Afronaut collection, and every single piece we've done has had some form of inspiration. So when people buy Keexs, they're not just buying shoes, they're buying art, they're buying inspiration, they're buying storytelling. There's a very deep side to it. So it's not for everybody,
Right.
but it's for certain types of people who are discerning enough to be able to know that they're not just buying shoes, they're buying history, they're buying something that is a lot deeper than just the regular sneaker.
So you are an Eaton artist residence.
Correct.
So excited about
Thanks to you.
Well, you know, I do what I can. I do what I can. And so let's take them a step back. You and I spoke early this year about the newest edition is going to be the smart sneaker.
Right.
We're talking about all of the things that, you know, we should do and this, that, and the third. And I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk about the wellness aspect, because I think it's not a stereotype that Nigerians take on a lot. Like we'll have like 1,700 jobs and 15, you know, sources of income, and you know, we're running. And even, you know, one of the things that I've been exposed to as I've been traveling more and more back to Lagos is that business meetings at 10 o'clock at night, you know, because of the traffic, the way that people conduct business, it's like you're spending most of your days active. You know, there's very little non-activity in a typical day in Lagos. And so I wanted to talk through how you managed to shift, because you've had different careers and now you're settled into this space as an entrepreneur around this particular, and you've had to learn a lot as you built this. How have you managed to balance that with your children and with your wife, you know, with your social spaces? You know, it's a lot to take on and it's a lot to maintain.
Well, unfortunately, there's never a balance. If we say that you want to create a balance, something has to give.
Right.
I think the first thing is my wife. She, before we got married, actually, she understood my career path.
Mhm.
I had worked first for the first Microsoft Go partner in West Africa as an employee. I had worked in Guinness, which is called Diageo globally.
Mhm.
And at the time that we're about to get married, I wanted to take a career shift, which was to go into entrepreneurship.
Right.
And I remembered having this very candid conversation with my wife that, look, I'm a diehard optimist, but I'm also a realist. And I know from all that I have read thus far that entrepreneurship is a very difficult journey to go into. And you don't really have um, some sort of limit in
Right.
terms of what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how much time you should give in, and how much time you should give in, because the business sometimes dictates what you need to do. I mean, take for example, now we're trying to pivot our business.
Mhm.
It's not entirely by choice, but
Right.
because of the situation in the country, we've had to try to adapt the business to a market that has the capacity to afford the products.
Mm-hmm.
So the same also applies to the everyday life. Work-life balance has been extremely difficult to achieve. My wife has been extremely gracious to just accommodate me in terms of even being able to do those long hours, those weekends, because we do pop-ups in Nigeria to weekends. We work till very late, especially when we're working on new designs or we're having retail issues and challenges that, somebody's posting stuff on social media, and you need to make sure that you respond to it, because you are not just dealing with a Nigerian customer base, but also an international customer base that is waking up when other people are supposed to be sleeping. And
Right.
so it's very important that you are extremely fanatical about customer service and things like that. So even as a CEO and having a plethora of staff working in the business, you still have to spot check a lot of things. And this means doing stuff when you shouldn't be doing it, because you just want to make sure that everything is A-okay.
Well, shout out to your wife. She's awesome.
She's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Give her the
absolutely amazing. She's the only reason why we exist in terms of the business, because if she didn't give me that opportunity to do this, I wouldn't even be here in the first place.
Please tell the other husbands. Let them know. Let them know.
They know what's up. They know what's up.
And
they know what they say in Nigeria now.
This is important to me, because I think that sometimes, we get caught up in the flash. I mean, you got the look, you got the shirt on, and everything looks good. But I think it's important for people to understand what it takes on the back end to actually bring this thing to life. We did a mini pop-up as part of the Maker's Mark conversation that was held on Friday.
Correct.
And I invited a couple of folks that I knew either didn't know the brand or I knew were sneaker folks that would totally kind of get into it. And so I was really happy to see them sort of come. We socially distanced. But I wanted you to share a little bit about the decision now that you're making to kind of move operations to the US.
So in 2015, I had a vision, and the vision was I'd gone to Netherlands, I'd learned how to make shoes, set up a factory in Nigeria, a world-class factory. I keep using that word world-class because the product itself is Niger-born, but world-class cool. And so from the get-go, we focused on quality of products and services, right? And so the vision was to create a world-class factory in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And the first challenge we had was, even though there was a very warm adoption to the brand and the products and everything,
right,
we also had to deal with the foreign exchange challenges, because initially we had to outsource productions through our technical partnership in Netherlands.
Right.
And the goal was ramp up the volumes. And then again, back to what I talked about, manufacturing is economies of scale. If you want to keep the price point low, you have to be pushing certain volumes. Right. So the production line that we were planning to set up can make 2,000 pairs of shoes a day. Mm-hmm. And therefore, it's important that we have the channels where these products are going to. Right. And then we started in 2015. It was 180 naira to $1. Mm-hmm. Today, 2020, it is 483 naira to $1. And I still read the news yesterday, and they were talking about the fact that people are buying up dollars in Nigeria, and there's scarcity of dollars now because, the currency is basically free falling against the dollar, because the imports, the exports in terms of oil, the price point has dropped significantly. Yeah. Yeah. So the government revenue has dropped, and there's a high demand for dollar, even for the manufacturing industry. They don't have access to dollars. And so we find ourselves in a situation where we need to pivot and say, okay, can we get to producing dollars and earn the currency or the sale in dollars, ramp up the numbers, and then be able to set back the factory in Nigeria? So this is what we've had to do now to try to pivot so that we can at least be able to achieve that long-term vision of creating thousands of jobs in Africa.
So how do you manage, how do I say this? When I met you, what a big part of the brand was we are a Lagos-based sneaker company. That's correct. How I refer to Keexs. I still refer to Keexs. That's what when I think of it, it's like it's a Lagos-based sneaker company. Correct. And I know that your original goal was to create sort of a manufacturing base in Lagos, to teach more people how to make shoes, to empower young people with educational support. What was the process of going into that space of, okay, we got to shift now? Like, is there a sense of loss or a sadness when you have to make that decision? Or is it like, it's okay, we'll do what we have to do?
So a lot of people don't say this, right? But I got depressed. And my depression, when I spoke to a shrink about it, was the fact that he
Stop.
said,
Hold on. You know what? I love you. And this is important work that we're doing.
yes, yes,
And John,
yes,
please tell them the importance
yes,
of therapy.
yes, it's very important, extremely important. We just take these things for granted, and we think we should just man up to everything. But the reality is, we have a mind. We're human beings, and we're not machines. We all have challenges and things we need to deal with. Sometimes you need to talk to somebody to get it out there, and then get it back coming to you, and then you can think a lot better, because sometimes you keep running these thoughts in your head, and you could go crazy, literally.
Yes. Yes.
So I think for me, my depression was a function of feeling frustrated with the fact that, think about this: we produce in dollars, we then come to Nigeria, we sell in naira, and by the time we are converting the naira back to the dollar,
Right.
we've lost another set of value. So it started from 180. At the point it hit 500, came back down again.
Right.
At some point it was stable for 360, and then
Right.
this year it shot up to 480. And
Right.
so you sold the product at a lower value, and
Right.
then you now need to change that same money again to produce another batch. It's like you're constantly chasing shadows, and you've put in years. We've put in 5 years trying to build up this business in Nigeria, and create jobs for people. It's frustrating, and again, taking the decision of trying to pivot also means there's a lot of ramifications of doing that. The impact on the family, the lifestyle change, the learning to adapt to a new environment to do business, and all of those factors. I had to put a lot of that into consideration. So my depression was a function of, just stop and think. And sometimes these things are not entirely negative.
Right.
Depression sometimes is, or that feeling could be fear, it could be frustration, it could also be a time to just stop and think, and be able to decide on the next steps, because you don't want to keep, what they say about insanity, right?
Right.
Trying to do the same thing and expecting a different result. So that's really what happened to me.
And I appreciate your transparency on this, because the point of this show is for people to be really open and honest, because I think it helps other creatives know that it's absolutely okay to have that reaction, but it's also very important to get help. I wanted to address a question that Miriam had, because I think it's an important one. When you were talking about the dollars, she's asking, are you saying dollars are being hoarded while the economy is down? Can you explain a little bit more for folks who may not be clear on what you mean by that?
Okay, so I think in August or September this year, the government pumped in about $1 billion to the Bureau de Change industry in Nigeria, the money changing guys, right?
Right.
And on a constant basis, every country or every economy in the world needs to be able to earn a certain amount of dollars or foreign exchange to be able to keep certain aspects of the economy running. So take, for example, a lot of the manufacturers in Nigeria, and that would have been the case with Keexs as well, they don't have all the raw materials in Nigeria. So
Right.
they have to import the raw materials. Now, if you are a manufacturer and you have to import things, most likely you have to pay in dollars. And then you're supposed to go to the bank and fill out the forms and several documentation, and then ask them to give you dollars. But then they don't have enough of that. And
Gotcha.
so what happens is the demand and supply, the forces that play in between all of that, increases the dollar in terms of the naira against the dollar, because there's not enough of it.
Right.
And so a lot of people are now converting their naira to US dollar because they want to keep the value of their money intact. Because what if if naira to dollar tomorrow goes to 1,000 naira? So if you had 1,000 naira before, maybe it will get you $2 or it will get you $3. But then in another 2 months, it might just get you $1.
Right.
And so the same thing with property. If you buy a property in Nigeria today and you give it another 10 years, and if for any reason the naira goes to 5,000 to $1, it means the value of your property has also depreciated. So people are now trying to, convert their money to a currency that they feel is a lot more stable and is not as volatile as the naira. So that is what is going on. And the government doesn't have enough dollars to pump into the system.
Right. And I think it speaks to a big part of the problem when we talk about the continent is how important the dollar is to the viability of another nation. Like there's a whole nother nation that is completely dependent on the stability of, a foreign currency.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so we think about your decision, like you're making this pivot and you're deciding to, build here. What does that take? Like, what are some of the things what are some of the differences that you're noticing?
Okay, so the first thing is I'm extremely widely traveled, right?
Mhm.
As a hobby, what I love to do is every year I go to a different country. So I've probably been to over 20 countries around the world, Africa, Europe, United States. And I've constantly been visiting as a tourist, right? But then when it comes to doing business, it's a totally different kettle of fish. In certain situations, when you have business meetings here, people want you to be direct and they want you to be extremely assertive about what you want to achieve or your vision and all of that.
Right.
And I'm coming into a market where we're trying to establish the business and the brand. And I'm in the process of trying to learn about a lot of things, a lot of cultural differences, right? And so when I'm going into business meetings, it's a bit difficult for me to be as assertive as I would be in Nigeria because I'm extremely assertive, but because I'm still learning and I don't want to say the wrong things or
Right.
I want to be assertive of what I'm saying. I always like to talk from a point of authority. And if I don't have that authority, I'd rather shut up and listen and talk less, until I'm very sure of what I'm saying.
Right.
So little things as nomenclature, step and repeat. What is a step and repeat? I don't know what a step and repeat is. I'm from Nigeria. We call it roll up banners or we call it drop down. So these are subtle differences that sometimes you are in a conversation, right? And you're still trying to decode what this person is saying. And they've probably moved on to something else, right? It
Right.
sounds as basic and as elementary as that. But the reality is, if reverse were the case, you bring an American to Nigeria,
Right.
he or she is also going to struggle for the next couple of months trying to get a footholding on the situation of things. And then I also have to deal with two other challenges. We have Keexs incorporated in South Africa. We have Keexs in Nigeria. We're setting up Keexs in the United States. We have different time zones. We have 5 events lined up in the US over over a period of approximately 4 weeks. And then I have to juxtapose and juggle all of this at the same time, which is crazy. So that kind of like set me back for a couple of days, and I just had to find my rhythm because I also had to wake up at Nigerian time to get a lot of the work done, the creative work, the marketing work, stuff that has to be done in the US. I have to wake up at 4 a.m. Nigerian time in the US. I have to wake up 4 a.m. US time to talk to the guys in Nigeria so they can get stuff done. So it's crazy.
But you're doing it. You're getting it.
Yeah. It's like being thrown into the deep end. The adrenaline rush is crazy, but it's all good.
And so when you think about what it is that you want to do, because one of your long-term goals is the Schools to Slum program, or Slum to School program, where you're working with trying to empower and provide educational support to kids in Makoko Village. What happens in the meantime as you're kind of setting all this up?
So we started the 1-for-1 initiative late last year. Prior to that, we had tried to do a couple of initiatives, but then the reality is, for every pair of Keexs that is bought, we donate 1,000 naira to Slum to School, which basically caters for kids, street kids. And Makoko is one of those areas where the beneficiaries are. It's a huge community of almost 500,000 people.
Right.
So far, before the COVID pandemic hit in March this year, we had kept the donations constant from sales of products to Slum to School. And then we had the COVID pandemic, and there was a huge drop in sales. We still kept it going. And then suddenly there was Black Lives Matter in the United States, right? And suddenly there was this renewed awareness to buy black. And so our sales in Nigeria dropped by almost 80%,
Right.
when the COVID pandemic hit, up until around August, September this year. And at the same time, the sales in the US suddenly picked up around June, July of this year, because it went up more than 4x, because now there was a lot more awareness about buying black.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a global e-commerce website. We started getting featured on a lot of platforms in the United States, talking about buying black-owned sneaker companies or stuff like that. And so we started having a lot of influx of that. And so that has kept the initiative going.
Mm-hmm.
We are going through another second wave of price increase in Nigeria. No, our fourth, actually, because now you have to keep increasing the price of the products in Nigeria. And this means it's going to make it more, less affordable
Right.
to a lot of people, because
Right.
not everybody has the disposable income to buy a pair of shoes
Right.
in Nigeria at a certain price point.
Right.
You know, so we're hoping that by pivoting to the United States and doing a lot more here, we can actually keep the initiatives running in Nigeria. And I think what's extremely important also is the cultural difference in terms of the environment as well. You're in a temperate region, or you've got an environment that has different seasons, right? But relatively cold. So the sneaker culture is not just a culture, but it's also a means of survival. You want to wear closed shoes. You don't want to wear flip-flops or slides or
Right.
stuff that we wear in Nigeria. So by default, we feel that it makes a lot more sense to scale our operations from the retail perspective here, and then keep the back-end operations in Nigeria, keeping those jobs in Nigeria, and at the same time, looking forward to setting up the factory in Nigeria that will make the shoes for the rest of the world.
Okay, so we got a couple of questions. Miriam asks, how do we donate to your initiative?
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just buy a pair of Keexs, and we, for every pair that is bought, we'll donate our 1,000 naira to Slum to School.
Do you actually, though? I have a question. Do you have is that the only way? Have you thought about, creating a way for people to donate separately if they want?
We haven't done that because we feel like that should be the work of a charity. The reason why we partner with Slum to School, it's an NGO, and we've pledged to send a minimum of, I think, 100 kids to school this year. It costs 50,000 naira to send a child to school for a year. These are the kids in government schools. So 50,000 naira is actually a pair of Keeks. But then when we sell 50 pairs of Keeks, we can actually send one kid to school, right? And if we do 50 times 100, that means we've done 5,000 pairs of Keeks in 1 year.
Okay.
And I think that's not a big deal to do in the US. That means we're able to then send the 100 kids to school for a year. We also still do things directly as well. For example, when we had the presentation on Friday, I showed you guys a visit to Makoko. We actually did a COVID awareness and sensitization campaign, where we actually did a proper campaign within there, reached thousands of people, and we also donated a lot of relief materials to the locals at Makoko.
Right.
And the last thing that we're actually working on now is a grant that we applied for in Netherlands. It's called the Youth Challenge Fund. And the goal of the fund is to create 5,000 jobs in 3 years.
Okay.
It's called the matching grant. And what that means is that we're going to be getting a grant from them. We need to match that with an equivalent sum. I think it's about 2 million euros we need to get from them. And this 2 million euros needs to create 5,000 jobs. From training people on shoemaking to be self-sustained in terms of making the shoes themselves. And they in turn can hire other people to make shoes. And a certain set of these people are also going to be hired by Keeks eventually to be involved in the factory operations that we want to set up in Nigeria.
Okay. So a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Where are the products in the US? Right now, it's just online, right? Or
so our play is two-pronged. We've got our website, www.keeks.com, where everybody can just go online and order them directly. We're also working with some retail stores. In the DMV area, we've got Nubian Human. They are in Anacostia here in DC. They've also got another store in Baltimore. But everybody, because of the COVID situation and the need to keep safe, a lot more people are going online to buy our products. But they can walk into a Nubian Human. That's one option. The other option is we've got stores beginning to pop up across the US. There's a store in Atlanta that is opening in a couple of days. They're called Sneaker Asylum. They just ordered a huge bunch of Keeks, and they're going to be retailing in Atlanta. We've got pop-ups coming up in New York. We've got 3 pop-ups on the 28th, from the 6th to the 11th, and then one on the 12th in Brooklyn. We just concluded one here in the DMV area. So online is probably the easiest way, and we drop ship directly from our warehouse in New York.
Okay. So question for people who, this is from Miriam. Can shoes be purchased to be donated? Like if I buy a pair of sneakers, can you give them to one of the kids? How do you guys do that?
We actually had it. We had a conversation with a charity here in the US recently. It's called It's From the Soul, and they are actually donating shoes to kids. We're planning on looking at the possibility of raising funds through our own products to fund a trip to Africa, to go to Africa with them, because they already are getting shoes that are being donated to them from, they might be, factory outlets, overruns or whatever they have.
Right.
And so it makes a lot more sense to donate those types of shoes than to donate a pair of Keeks to these kids.
Okay.
That's what I think. And that's what we think as a business. You want to also be able to get value for your money,
right,
than, buying a pair of Keeks and then donating, except we are saying we want to do a typical 1-for-1 for every pair of Keeks you buy. We now make a certain shoe to give to the kids.
Right.
But we also think that it is a lot more empowering to focus on education for kids than buying them shoes. Yes, we know there's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is food, clothing, and shelter. The very basics are, wearing clothes and having shoes on. But, we feel like we can create a lot more impact with education,
right.
especially within their neighborhood, than just giving them a pair of shoes.
Okay. So Tony Blackman, shout out to Tony Blackman, is based in New York. She wants a pair.
Oh, nice. Hi, Tony.
So they're gonna, you two should meet because she's awesome. You're awesome. You two should meet. You should also meet Miriam. So I'm gonna figure out a way to connect you two. What are the dates again for New York?
So we've got the New York on the 28th at 333 Lounge, which is a Flatbush. We've got there's the Bishop Gallery that is going to be stocking the products from the 6th of December to the 11th, and then we'll have a finale for the pop-up on the 12th again at 333 Flatbush.
And so if they go to at Keexs Tribe, the IG page, everything should be there, right?
Yes, it's all there. And if they want to get the shoes, they can always go to the website. But if they follow us at Keexs Tribe, which is Keexs is KEEXSTRIBE. So once you follow us, you can always be kept abreast of all the developments that are happening in the States.
Okay. You're awesome.
You are more awesome.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you.
I love you.
I love you too. So you're in DC for a couple more days before you leave us to head to New York.
Yes.
What has DC been like for you? Like, what has it been like to be here? Because you've been in the middle of some really, you come at a really weird time.
Correct. I mean, I was in the DMV area last year, Silver Spring to be precise, and I had an amazing time. I mean, I know Maryland is called the Chocolate City, right? So
no, DC was Chocolate City.
DC was Chocolate City.
Now it's Hope. I don't know.
Right. So I had an amazing time last year. I mean, we didn't have to keep social distancing or observe a lot of protocol around, keeping safe. I think this time around it's been a little bit more isolated, and I think I've basically kept to myself, just trying to keep safe.
Right.
But I've met a lot of amazing people. Met Sheldon here at the
Sheldon's amazing.
We've had a lot of people come over to visit. We had almost 10 people coming from Maryland yesterday to come and buy the shoes and to meet with me. And so I've been having a lot of meetings, people coming through. I've done a lot of walking around as well, just sightseeing, and just taking it one day at a time, basically. But so far it's been an amazing experience. And I think that I'm looking forward to when this pandemic is over and then we can really get into the groove again. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think we all are just trying to stay safe right now.
This is true. I think that I've really enjoyed hosting you and watching you do your thing, and just kind of being able to kind of support and amplify your work, because I do think it's important. And I really the pop-up that we did on Friday night, I didn't, it's interesting. I was helping to make sure that you had some people come through, but we had a really good time. It was a lot of fun.
We had an amazing time. We
And I
had an
didn't
amazing
realize how much I needed to just hang out and talk.
unwind. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
really good. It was really, really good.
Absolutely. And you know where I'm coming from, Nigeria. If we were to compare the situation in Nigeria to here,
Hmm.
Nigeria is still, it's almost like there's no pandemic in Nigeria.
So
So it,
basically, Nigeria is operating like Atlanta.
yeah,
Okay.
it was a shock for me. It was like a reality check for me
Mm,
when I came in here. I actually then felt the impact of COVID.
okay.
I, I knew what was going on, but it's a different thing when you're immersed in the situation. And it was like, almost a knee-jerk kind of feeling, coming from Nigeria, everything hunky-dory, we're still hanging out, having drinks, everybody's partying, to a certain degree. But
Right.
then coming here, we can't, there are only two people that need to go into an elevator, stuff like that. Those things are real.
Right. Right.
That is real. That is
And I
real.
think it's important to note that, because there are folks acting like we aren't in the middle of a pandemic, and it does feel, depending on where you are in the country, it could be like, okay, yeah, you people are taking it seriously, and other times not
True.
so much.
True.
Before you go, I wanted to touch on the NSARS piece, because I think I think as Nigerians we should at least acknowledge that something terrible happened. Um, as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as someone who loves Nigeria and wants to build and manufacture in Nigeria, how are you processing the tragedy of the Lekki Tollgate massacre and just what's been happening with the government, with the things that you're trying to create? Like, how do you find that balance?
Um, First and foremost, it was extremely disheartening what happened. I think that also added to the depression. So it wasn't just the business, but the fact that we actually saw um, things happening on TV,
Mhm.
and lives were lost, and there was a huge um, rise amongst the youth, in terms of trying to communicate with the leadership of the country and asking for what we all believe are fundamental human rights,
Right.
as well as some recourse for some of the crimes that have been committed. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I have also been locked up once or twice in Nigeria.
Right.
You have a business transaction, it goes bad, and just because he believes he has an upper hand, he can pay the policeman a lot more money. They
Mhm.
can use the police people to harass you, and then it's been going on it had been going on for too long,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of profiling, with the youth. How you look is how you're treated, and so that was really disheartening. And I'm glad that what happened in terms of the fact that the youth were able to come together for the first time,
Right.
and they've always had this sense of, this is my space. I don't need to connect with other people, and
Right.
this brought the youth together.
Right.
As a business, I think that the brand has the responsibility to keep communicating and informing people and inspiring people in one way or the other, which is one of the reasons why the recent work that collaboration we've done with Victor Epoch,
Mhm.
we're going to be releasing a sneaker called the Love Note, Love
Mhm.
Note 1 and Love Note 2. And it's taking inspiration from the Nsibidi
Right.
tribe. And the symbol that we have there is a symbol that represents love and unity. And I believe that a lot of what is going on in the world today, be it Black Lives Matter, be it NSARS, be it the COVID pandemic, love and unity can bridge or can help to ease out a lot of these challenges that we're having. If there's love and unity with the government and the people, then they would basically be in their shoes, and they would try to do what is necessary to make the people happy,
Right.
And so we would always come from that perspective of constantly communicating and inspiring, informing, and integrating people together through our products.
Right.
We are hopeful, and we believe that the country will be a better place.
Mhm.
We pray about it, and then we try to contribute one way or the other. we still look forward to that vision of setting up the factory in Nigeria. And whilst that is going on, whilst we're going through that process, we need to get the sales going, keep the business afloat,
Yep.
and then be able to. So you know what Oprah would say about making sure that your cup is full.
Mhm.
If your cup is full, then you can give. If your cup is empty, then you have nothing to give.
Right.
So I think it's important to get the business sustainable, scalable, and then be able to then empower more people over the next couple of years.
Ha, Jide, you've done well today, boy. You've done well. Thank you so much. The last
Thanks so much,
that I end the episodes with is okay. We're back to some semblance of free-forming movement, and the pandemic is under control. I don't know that it's ever going to be over, but under control. What's the first thing you're doing?
Family holiday.
Okay.
Vacation with the family. I think that's important. We've all been trapped, locked in for some time now. I remember the last time, because almost every quarter I find myself traveling to different places, right? And within that same year, at least we try to have a family vacation. But this time around, it just wasn't safe enough to have the kids. My son kept saying, "Daddy, I want to come with you. I want to come with you." And I was like, "Oh, son, it's not safe. We can't do this right now. But we'll travel soon." So I think the first thing is the family deserves a holiday.
Right.
My wife, the kids, they all deserve some time away. So I think I'm going to have to focus on that first, and then every other thing can be self and the business.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me and getting through this craziness with the mics and stuff. I really appreciate you. I will definitely see you before you head to New York, and who knows, I might pop up in New York. I'm looking at my schedule to see what's possible.
You never know. It's great to have you. No, Kat, I really appreciate you hosting me on this show. I really appreciate the support you've given to the brand.
Absolutely.
Absolutely amazing. And I'm sure that in a couple of years down the line, you would see how you can refer back to some of these days where we started building this brand out in the States and said, I've been a part of this story from the get-go.
Let me just tell you, all I'm saying is I have a capsule collection in mind. So when you're ready, you just let me know.
No wahala. We're doing Victor's Zone. Once we finish Victor's Zone, start putting yours in the pipeline too. So that
because, speaking of which, when does Victor's shoe go on pre-sale?
So myself and Jen, our business partner, our CEO here in Nigeria. Hey Jen, how you doing? We had that conversation yesterday, and we decided to produce the shoes and get it into the market within the first quarter of next year.
Okay.
So all we're trying to focus on right now is just get the sample sizing, the size distribution for the US.
Right.
Because coming from Nigeria, it's a totally different kettle of fish. So it's important we get the right sizing. There are limited runs, extremely limited runs. So it's important to get the right sizes together, and then we go into production. And Q1 2021,
okay,
we're going to have the products in the
ready.
market.
I'm buying both pairs, so
yes.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who hung in with us. Miriam, I will take care of you. Don't worry about brother, Mr. Transistor. It's don't sweat it. You can always go to Keexs.com to get the shoes, and hit Jide, you still got some shoes, right?
We still got shoes. We actually shipped in like a bunch load of like some hundreds of shoes. They landed at JFK on Friday, and Jen has been so gracious to help get them out of the customs.
So he's here in DC for a little bit, and then he's going to be in New York. So this is an opportunity if you want to get them, if you want to wait for shipping, or if you want to try to get them while he's here. This is a great opportunity to do that. Jide, I'm going to let you go. I have to do another thing at 11:30 on IG. So
before we go, you know what to do, right?
What?
Very important. How do we greet each other? Chop knuckle.
Chop knuckle.
You know what the chop knuckle is? That's our logo right there. The fist. The impact we want to create across the world.
I didn't see it, but now that's all I see. It's fantastic.
Right here. Here.
So
right here. Always there. Chop knuckle. God bless.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Take care. All right.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with John Murph talking about jazz and a vibe during the pandemic. All right. I'll check you then. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
All right. So